Hey, what up? Welcome to the part 3 of Manic Depression. So this is my final video of this series. So I did the first video before medication. Second video was based on while I was taking medication. Third video is based on the after process of medication. So let's dive right into it. I want to start this off by talking about mental shifts. Now, what is a mental shift? It is when you look at life in a different reality or a different perspective. So you're not at the same perspective that you once were, you're at a higher one. And then you might go to a higher one. And then you might switch and look at life in a different way. When I say life, I'm talking about your mind, the way that you see your reality through your own eyes. Now, my mental shift while I was taking medication is a lot different from now. Now let's backtrack. Before medication, it was very much victim mode. It was a mindset that everybody is against me, the world is against me, everybody is trying to attack me and bring me down, and I was stuck in this reality of self-sabotage. Now let's go to the different state. Got a car pulling in right here. Let me move this a little bit. Let's go to a different state. Second reality is taking medication. So now I'm actually starting to see the hope of life. It's not just so weighed down and heavy. I'm starting to see a balance within my mind. Although it is with a medication, it helped me in a lot of ways. I go over that in the second video, but it serves almost as a crutch. Now try to follow this here. Like, I was literally not able to get out of my own bed at one point in time before medication. And medication kind of gave me that oomph, that crutch to get on my own 2 feet and walk. I was still very much in this competitive survival type mode. Like, people are against me. I walk in a room and I'm very, very anxious. I don't really want to interact with people. I'm still kind of isolating and being by myself in a lot of ways, a lot of unhealthy ways. Now, I go into a critical part in my second video. It's near the end, and I know it's pretty long, it's lengthy, it's about 40 minutes, but if you actually stayed through the end, I talk about how I started seeing that medication was no longer serving me and I had to get off of it because I felt like it was killing me now. I didn't know how. I didn't know where, who, or what was going to get me off of it. But I also talk about this in my second video. My friend came into my life and he had just got back from his work out in Texas, and basically, to sum it all up, we dropped LSD together, and I'm starting to see things in a very, very, very different perspective. Now let's run with that perspective for a little bit. I'm starting to see that manic depression is a product that you're given based on the circumstances that you were placed in. It's very important to see this, and it's very critical to actually understand what I'm saying right here. You are a product of your environment. If you take a child who was raised very, very good parents, had a very good birthing process, was raised, had a very good childhood, very good upbringing, and then went off, did awesome, incredible things, was around incredible people. And then you take another kid who was around maybe a more difficult birthing process. The mother was addicted to drugs, she was drinking alcohol, she was going out and partying on the weekends. You bring up this child and you maybe don't know how to be a parent, and this child is going through it, and there's a lot of fucked up things that happen to this kid. They are a product of their environment. It's not that they just have this depression that comes along all of a sudden, like, oh, I'm depressed, and you know, there's a root to everything, and that root comes from the seed that was planted in childhood. It's very, very critical to follow this. Now, I started to see that my manic depression was not made up in my mind. It was not some type of disease that was going to kill me. You cannot extract that from my blood and tell me that I have manic depression. You cannot extract somebody's blood and tell them that they have anxiety or that they have depression. It's completely made up, but it is so real at the same time. It's really cold out here. Starting to get a little teary. It's completely made up, but it's completely real at the same time. People will create these mental paradigms for you. Like, if you think about God, right? And let's just take a step back from religion and let's apply this to real life. You think about the universe, like your parents are literally God at one point in time, and they create this little universe for you, this little mental paradigm, and they impregnate that into your mind. They put that into your mind, and then it blossoms from there. It can grow into a beautiful tree, or it can grow into something that's very, very, very sick and twisted and fucked up and dark in a lot of ways. And you see this in our world today. You look at somebody and you see the light in their eyes. You see how confident they are. You see their ability to speak. And you're like, man, you know, they either went through a lot of shit and got through it, or they had a really good upbringing and phenomenal parenting, or you see something really dark in people's eyes. You start to look at the people's and you see almost like a deadness there. Like they're literally hollow, they're dead inside. I realized after manic depression, my medication, after I stopped taking it, and I started looking at my manic depression and what it was exactly. It was a seed that I had to uproot from the ground, roots that I had to uproot from the ground. And if you ever try to pull out a tree or a bush that's really deep rooted, it is so fucking difficult. It's so hard, right? You're trying to get like an axe or like a shovel and like you're trying to kick it and stomp it and rip it out. That's the same thing that you're doing mentally when you have some shit in there that does not belong there anymore. It is excruciating. It is so painful. It is something that will literally want to make you want to off yourself at some points in time, because it is so brutal. So I start digging up these roots. And like I said in my other videos, I, went to counseling for a little bit. I did the talk therapy, and I think that in itself is very, very good for you to speak about the trauma, for you to speak about your untold story to somebody who is paid to listen. They're paid to compartmentalize your thoughts in your mind a little bit, to give you some guidance, to give you some organization, because when you have so much in here, it's like drugs, alcohol, run away from my problems, do whatever I can to get away from this. So seeing somebody that is a professional that can help you talk about it and organize it in that way is good. But it is not the end all. You should not get stuck there at a period of time. It will no longer work for you. Talk therapy will no longer work for you. when, like, you'll go through a phase of dependency on your therapist, of complete dependency. Like, if you do not have them in your life, then something awful will happen, or you just don't feel like you'll be able to make it, right? We get like this on people too, our significant other. We get codependent a lot on people that are around us that we tend to trust. And I started to see that I was past talk therapy. Not that I'm beyond talk therapy, because it got me through a phase of my life that I needed to go through. So I knew that I had to do something different. Now, the key to all of these things that are going on, the keys, is managing it. You have to manage it. How do you manage it? You wake up early and you figure out a process that will get your mind on a set level, so it's not zoom, 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 zoom. So it's steady. And sometimes you're gonna be off. Some days you're gonna just feel off and nervous and a wreck. And to be honest, when a seed is planted in your mind and the roots grow throughout your body, and that trauma is released in there, that potent trauma is released within your mind and your body, I think, at least right now, this might change in a few years, but I think that you will always have a degree of that. I don't know if there's ever any cure to it. You can never take a pill and that pill is going to cure you of your darker side, your shadow self, whatever you want to call it. There is no such thing. At least I have not found this within my own life, and I've been looking for it since I was the age of 5-6 years old. That's when I started talk therapy, counseling. You have to go through it. You have to see yourself and reflect and act and execute on this. Ultimately, you have to discharge your trauma. This is very, very difficult and something that I've been searching for a very long time, and I'm still trying to figure it out, but I have found some clues, some hints, and I think some real tangible things that you can do, like today, to help start that process. So, one thing, you always hear motivational speakers talk about this, wake up early, wake up early. Well, it's like, why, dude? I'm fucking tired. I want to sleep. I don't want to get out of bed. I'm cold. You know what I mean? It's like snowing out. Not right now, but it was the other day, and there's snow on the mountains, and it's pretty cold out here right now. But the reason why you would want to wake up early in the morning is so you can get more control and you have more time. Now let's talk about time for a little bit, because after my first LSD experience, there was two things that I wanted in my life before I died. I wanted to figure out how to be high without actually needing things to make me get there, without needing drugs to make me get there. Two, I wanted to figure out a way to slow down time. Now it sounds like really crazy, like what the hell is this dude talking about right now? Slow down time. It's going so fast and it's never gonna slow down. Check it out. I wake up in the morning, and I talk about this in a bunch of my videos, and here's why ultimately I do it. It's because if I don't do this, my head is so off on another planet where I'm just so out of balance and really kind of shaky and ungrounded. I think that we have so much stimulus in our world today where it's like, I wake up and it's I check Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I go on YouTube, I do all of these things, maybe I read for a little bit, and it's like stimulus, 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 and it makes you fucking crazy. Like when you take a step back from it, you literally see how you are pumped and you are just trying to get that little high, that little buzz, because you're overstimulated and you keep trying to get there. But when you take it out and you take a step back from that and you go into meditation and you focus on your breathing, and maybe you do some EFT tapping, and maybe you do a cold plunge, right? And then maybe you feel a high, a sustainable high, without needing to go buy weed or buy whatever the fuck you're buying, right? Your alcohol or whatever. It is something that is unparalleled to anything I've ever felt before. When you wake up in the morning and you manage your state, when you manage your state, everything else is a reflection of that. How you interact with people, how you speak, how you publicly speak, how you conduct yourself. It's very interesting because the more that I started doing this process, I noticed everything started going up. My relationships got better. I'm in a relationship right now with a pretty awesome woman. People in my life started being a reflection of my mental state. I have received multiple raises at my job this passing year. I have a lot more opportunity than ever before, and like my manic depression isn't even really a question anymore. Like I don't wake up and question if I could get out of bed. You know what I mean? It's like if I wake up and I'm feeling off, it's like boom, I know what to do. I'm gonna go meditate. I'm gonna take away stimulus for a little bit, right? I'm gonna go meditate. I'm gonna go do the cold plunge. I'm gonna do some Wim Hof breathing. If shit gets really, really crazy and I'm working with people that have come from a more traumatic type background, meaning I work every single week with homeless population, teaching them martial arts. I hit up the hot springs, or I hit up the sensory deprivation. I do certain things to get my mind in a state where it's fluid, right? And you're calm. So many people talk about like, oh, like meditate, or, you know, focus on your breathing, or do this or do this. But why? Like, why? Give me some hints. Like, why am I doing that? Just to fucking breathe, just to hear myself breathing, just to meditate, just to cancel out the noise, to run away from myself. Why am I doing that? And the focus that I really want you to see and reflect on is that you ultimately are in complete control of this. There's a lot of people that say that, but it's very hard to see at first. And I think the mental paradigm that you come from at first when you start to look at yourself, especially with these more traumatic situations, is that you don't know how to help yourself. In fact, you don't even want to help yourself. You don't want to be healthy, because what it means to be healthy is eating a good diet. It's having good positive relationships around you. It's doing something that you love doing, not going to a job that you fucking hate. It's having friendships that you love, people that you love, you loving yourself. And what does that not reinforce? It doesn't reinforce the trauma. And it's funny how we always try to get back to the trauma. It always repeats itself. So when you start unlifting and uncovering these roots, you start bringing them up, it's painful. It's painful because now you are leaving that trauma, and leaving that trauma often comes with leaving some friends behind, leaving some family behind, going to the next level. That's what's very difficult about it. Not being at that same job that you were always at, moving up, challenging yourself, failing, putting different opportunities in front of you. Last point. You are not your label. You are not your fucking label. It is only that. It is 100% a label. I am not a manic depressed person. I'm a person that has been in some really shitty situations and grew up in some really shitty situations, but that does not define me. That name does not like hover over my head like, hey, look at me, I'm manic depressed and I'm gonna be like that forever till the day I die. No, it is not like that. And if you are depressed or you have anxiety, you have to figure out a way to get in control of that. It is not up to your parents. It's not up to your friends. It's not up to your coworkers or your boss or whoever the fuck to save you. You have to do it for yourself. And when we talk about religion and God and this whole type of thing, you have to understand that you are the person that creates your own universe. You create your own reality. You have to see that paradigm shift. You go from a servant of all of these things that people have done to you and all of these little puppet strings that people have put onto you to eventually being your own God, creating your own world. It's so, so crucial that this takes place, that this energy shift takes place. Because if it does not happen, you will forever be a victim in your own universe that ultimately you are creating. People can do things for a certain amount of time to you. They could put you in really shitty situations. They could do things to you that is sometimes unspeakable in some moments. But later down the road, you have to confront this. You have to be the one that gets out of that social narrative and be objective and see what the hell you have to do to get yourself out of it. So life after medication looks pretty fucking awesome. And I wouldn't change anything about my process. To all the nights that I couldn't sleep, that I was, thinking about suicide, to drinking a shit ton, to smoking weed, to all of that, I would not change it. I had to go through that process. I had to shed the superficial layers off. I had to uncover. I wouldn't change taking medication. Medication gave me a crutch to keep going. If I didn't have the crutch, would I have been able to keep going? I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't change any of that. You have to realize that in your life you shed layers. And if you are on the path, if you are on the journey, if you're on the road where you are supposed to be going, what is that road? I have no idea. Right now for me, it looks like martial arts and teaching and being a student and going to college and all of that. But I don't know what it's going to be in 5, 10, 20 years, you know what I mean? If I'm alive for that long. Realize that you're shedding layers. Realize that where you are at is where you are supposed to be right now in this given time. Realize that things are going to change. If you're feeling high right now or manic right now, know that you are going to lose it, and know that it's okay to drop back down here to earth. Life after medication, I learned so many things through that process. I learned to stay away from instant hits of gratification. I wouldn't say stay away from them, that's the wrong word. I learned to monitor it. If I see that I am getting those hits all the time, it's like Facebook, social media, social validation, coffee, it's like instant hits of gratification and little highs. These little highs just to make you feel good. Oh, unplug. And I'm heading to the hot springs. And I'm going to chill the fuck out for a little bit. Or I'll go to sensory deprivation. I learned to get up in the morning and take care of myself, to take care of my mental state, because I matter, and my mental state and my energy is a reflection of everything that goes on outside of me. If you're fucked up in the mind, pay attention to what is around you. What are you watching? Are you watching the news? Are you reading bullshit books? Are you around people who are bringing down your conscious state? Are you eating foods that's bringing you lower? If you feel shitty about yourself, there's no way that you're going to want to pick up to the next level. And if you do, it hurts a little bit. Finally, I learned to let go. I learned to let go of like this high that I think that I'm attached to. I learned to let go of my depression. I think there's a certain piece of us that wants to hold on to that depression, to that anxiety, to that manic-y state, because we think that it defines us. We think that without it, who are we? How will people accept us? How do we go on through this life being fake? Because that depression or that anxiety, that makes me real. That's who I am. That's what I grew up with thinking that I was, or who I was, who I thought I was. It's not you. I'm turning into Tony Robbins here. I'm gonna cut this video. I hope you got something out of it, man. I really put my heart into this series, the first, second, and this last video. If you have any questions like that, please feel free to drop them in the comment section below. And one last thing before I get out of here. Find ways to discharge your trauma. Everything is different. Every situation is different. But if that trauma is still there within your body, within your mind, it is very hard to transcend and get better. Right? Don't ever think that you're going to be cured. No one's going to tap their hand and, oh my gosh, I'm cured. Or I'm going to take a pill and like, I'm cured now. I look for a lot of different things. I haven't found it yet. It's about managing it on a day-to-day basis. It restarts every single day, and you constantly have to get your mind back where it needs to be. Eat good foods, be around good people, find ways to discharge your trauma, look into plant medicine when you are ready, see a talk therapist, a counselor if you need to. If you're at the point of getting on medication, try it out. Don't get hooked on it. There will be a time where you need to get off of it eventually and figure out something else. Look at where this is coming from. Right now, you might just be seeing the branches that are like moving like this throughout the day, and you're like, oh my God, my life is so crazy, my mind is so crazy. But if you look a little lower, there's the trunk of the tree. Where is that trunk coming from? Why are the branches like this? Go to the roots. See what's in the roots. Try to uncover those motherfuckers and look at every one. Because if you hide from any of them, they will catch up and they will follow you throughout your whole life. Be strong. Until next time, I'm done.